Managing microaggressions, strategies for responding to subtle bias in the workplace? Abstract. This article examines the issue of microaggressions in increasingly diverse workplaces, which refer to subtle verbal, nonverbal, and environmental slights that communicate negative messages about a person's marginalized identity. Research shows that the cumulative effect of microaggressions can negatively impact minorities' mental health, job satisfaction, and sense of belonging. The article outlines strategies for both individuals and organizations to address microaggressions. Individual approaches include educating respectfully, debriefing privately, seeking support from allies, and prioritizing mental wellness. Organizational strategies involve implementing implicit bias and microaggression training, clear anti-discrimination policies, accountability structures, leadership commitment to inclusion, and safe spaces for marginalized groups. By taking these steps, the article argues, companies can foster truly inclusive work cultures where diverse identities feel respected and able to thrive. In today's increasingly diverse workplaces, subtle forms of discrimination known as microaggressions are unfortunately all too common. Microaggressions refer to everyday verbal, nonverbal, and environmental slights, snubs, or insults, whether intentional or unintentional, that communicate hostile, derogatory, or negative messages to target persons based solely upon their marginalized group membership. Sue, 2010. Though seemingly minor, the cumulative effect of constantly experiencing microaggressions has been found to negatively impact minorities' mental health, job satisfaction, and feelings of belonging. Neiman, 2014. Zhu, 2010. As leaders aiming to foster inclusive, equitable work environments, it is crucial we understand how to effectively address microaggressions. Today, we will outline research on the nature and impact of microaggressions, along with practical strategies individuals and organizations can employ to mitigate their occurrence and manage incidents respectfully when they do arise. Overall, the goal is to equip managers and diversity officers with tools to deal constructively with subtle discrimination, enhance intergroup relations, and cultivate truly inclusive cultures where all employees feel respected, valued, and able to contribute their full selves at work. Understanding microaggressions. Before diving into response strategies, it is important to define microaggressions and understand their effects based on current research. Sue, 2010, categorizes microaggressions into three main types. Microassaults, conscious, deliberate discriminatory actions or verbal/nonverbal attacks, meant to hurt the victim, e.g. using racial epithets or intentionally discriminatory policies. Microinsults, rude, insensitive, and demeaning verbal, nonverbal, and environmental communications that subtly convey insulting or derogatory messages to the recipient, e.g. remarks that minorities are articulate or that someone's work is too political. Microinvalidations, communications that subtly exclude, negate, or nullify the thoughts, feelings, or experiential reality of certain groups, e.g. statements denying the presence of racism or that we are all human beings. Research indicates that experiencing microaggressions leads to increased stress, lowered mental health and well-being, decreased job satisfaction, and reduced self-efficacy, particularly in minorities and marginalized communities. Neiman, 2014. Sue, 2010. The mental taxation of constantly encountering microaggressions in the workplace creates a form of microaggression stress syndrome. Sue, 2010. Regularly facing subtle bias and slights regarding one's identity can significantly undermine an inclusive, productive work culture. Individual strategies for responding to microaggressions. While the optimal route is preventing microaggressions through organizational policies and culture change initiatives, responding effectively when incidents do occur helps mitigate harm. individual employees can employ the following strategies. Educate respectfully in the moment. Politely yet firmly call out the microaggression and explain why it was offensive or inappropriate. This educates the offender respectfully while preventing future recurrences. Use I statements to avoid accusations, keeping the focus on one's own feelings and experiences. A. Gee, I felt hurt when you said. Debrief privately later. Have a respectful conversation with the offender separately to further explain the impact and help them understand different perspectives. Focus on learning, not blame. Document specific incidents privately, in case further action is needed, but address most issues respectfully in the moment to encourage growth. Seek support from allies. Speak to trusted colleagues after incidents for emotional support and advice on next steps. Organize allies proactively to address recurring problems respectfully as a group. Employee resource groups can coach members and liaise constructively with leadership regarding harm reduction strategies. Prioritize mental wellness. Practice self-care like meditation, exercise, or journaling to manage stress from continuously encountering microaggressions. Connect with community outside work for validation, healing, and resilience, building against marginalization's negative mental health impacts. Organizational strategies for managing microaggressions. While individual strategies aim to respond respectfully in the moment, leadership must institute enduring organizational changes. Research-backed approaches include implicit bias and microaggression training. Mandatory, regularly updated training to increase awareness of subtle bias and educate all on appropriate workplace conduct. The Society for Human Resource Management recommends annual refresher trainings. Google provides all employees implicit bias coaching to minimize subtle discrimination in hiring, reviews, and promotions. Clear anti-discrimination policies. Policies explicitly prohibiting microaggressions with clear consequences, like warnings, probable termination for repeat offenses. LinkedIn amended their inclusive language policy in 2021 to address subtle bias more directly after employee feedback. Accountability structures. Anonymous reporting systems and investigations of incidents respecting privacy of all involved. Designated officers ensure follow-through like mediation, training referrals, or sanctions. Stanford Medicine appointed a chief diversity officer overseeing their bias incident response team, handling complaints. Leadership commitment to inclusion. Top management visibly supporting diversity via statements. Hiring initiatives and intolerance of biased conduct sends a strong signal trickling down. Accounting firms like Deloitte host roundtables with C-suite discussing strategies to retain talented minorities facing subtle discrimination. Safe spaces for marginalized groups. Employee resource groups or dedicated forums help address microaggressions discreetly while building community and obtaining leadership guidance. Juniper Networks has 13 business resource groups hosting talks on healthy ways to cope and engage allies regarding member concerns. Conclusion. As individuals and organizations alike recognize, addressing implicit bias and subtle discrimination is an ongoing process requiring continuous education, open dialogue, and accountability structures. With an understanding of microaggressions' nature and negative impacts backed by research, along with strategies informed by industry best practices, leaders are well equipped to foster truly inclusive work cultures. By establishing clear policies, empowering marginalized voices, and making authentic commitments to equity, companies can successfully prevent and productively manage incidents of subtle discrimination, enabling all employees to freely contribute their talents. With diligence and compassion, workplaces can become safe havens where diverse identities feel equally respected and able to thrive.